Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Co-op Podcast, episode 188. Happy New Year to you all. I'm your host, Richard Bailey Jr., and tonight I'm joined by Mr. Gary A. Swaby. How's it going, Gary?
How you doing, man? Happy New Year to everyone on this cast and everyone listening. I hope 2017 is a prosperous year for everyone.
Absolutely. Yes, great gaming and great pretty much everything. Also want to welcome Mr. Jake James Lugo. How's it going, Mr. Lugo?
I'm doing good, Rich. Happy New Year again to you, Gary, everybody else listening and stuff. Looking forward to 2017. Everybody's really looking forward to 2017 because got a lot of good stuff happening, especially at the beginning of this year for gaming, as well as everybody's just feeling a little bit refreshed. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. No doubt about it. The break was needed. I'm going to talk about a few things that I experienced over the break. But yes, happy to start a new year. For those that might not know, I believe that this is actually the 9th year that the Koalition has been around. So we're getting very close to the 10-year mark. Something to be very proud and excited about. But, we'll talk more about that at a later time. But yes, Happy New Year to everybody. It may look as though it is the same because of, the way that it's set up right now. You can expect a few changes next week, but this is a bit of an impromptu show because we actually wanted to record a show before the break, but we didn't get around to it. So here we are. So obviously there wasn't much that happened during the holidays, but we do have a couple of different topics to get into. But before we do that, we're going to let you all know what we have been playing. So Mr. Lugo, how about you start us off and let us know what you've been playing?
So I've been playing a couple different things, one of which I'm playing a game for review that I can't talk about. That's coming, I believe, in about a week and a half. So you guys got already new reviews that are going to be dropping on the site very, very soon because we've been hard at work doing a bunch of stuff, and which is great because we were able to get it around the holiday season and stuff. But I'll talk more about that when we finally get closer to that. But besides that, on my off time when I'm not playing games for work and stuff, I've been playing a lot of Street Fighter V. If you guys saw already, my impressions of the Akuma DLC or just using Akuma in Street Fighter V went up not too long ago. They've been up for maybe about a week or so, give or take. I played Akuma when I was at PSX, when I went there and I got my hands on time with him for the first time. I only played about a matchup, so I didn't really get the real sense of like the nuance and like the nitty gritty of like how he is as a character in relation to the rest of the cast. But I finally did now. Capcom sent us over a code to check it out, as well as also every single character that comes out for the rest of 2017, we'll be able to get impressions of as they come out and stuff, which is pretty cool. But for Akuma, to summarize it in a nutshell, and again, if you guys want more details, go check out the editorial that I wrote up, the impressions about Akuma that I put up on the site. That's on there now. Basically, he's a good character. He plays and feels a little bit different than his previous iterations in older Street Fighter games. He's not so much of a glass cannon like compared to previous versions of himself. This one, he still feels like he has less health than everybody else, but it's not so much to the point where you feel like you'll get blown out the water within like 1 or 2 combos and stuff. He does have some, some defense, and he could take a couple punches and such. But obviously his other stuff like his V-Trigger, change up his properties, makes him play more like classic Akuma, which makes sense in the mindset or at least, the scope of Street Fighter V. One of the things that I did criticize it for, however, which I think is a fair criticism, is that there isn't much that you get when you download Akuma. You pay a decent amount for the season pass, which is like $29.99 or something on PSN, and I think it's also on PC like that. But you only get so much extra content besides playing as Akuma himself. You don't even get the extra costumes when you get the season pass, which to me personally, for what you're paying, I think that there needs to be more value in there. If I'm paying all that much and I'm committing to the season pass, I feel like I should be getting all that content with every character, not having to nickel and dime me for the extra costumes and stuff for the characters that are included in my season pass. I know some people disagree with me. I was actually having a discussion about it with other people that I know, like other friends, and they say like, oh, but it's like a separate thing and that it has nothing to do with all these other, like, all this other content that you're getting and stuff, but it's still part of that character. And I was expecting, like, when I got it, I was going to get like that nostalgia costume that makes him look like the old version of Akuma and stuff, but it doesn't come with it. And I was like, okay, that's kind of a little bit of a detriment, but focusing on the character himself though, the other content in the story mode, you don't get a lot of stuff in story mode. You get the character story, but it's only 2 fights, and that really sucks. They're over before you know it, and it doesn't really contribute anything to the grand narrative of Street Fighter V, which I think is a missed opportunity because Akuma is a very popular character in the Street Fighter mythos and the Street Fighter series like that. That's one of the reasons why he's being included now in this game, because a lot of people asked for him. And I feel like, you know, with his existence in this game, or at least him roaming around in that world and that story, it feels a little bit kind of, you know, empty that he doesn't influence or doesn't have anything to do with some of the events that go on in the story mode of Street Fighter V. And I feel like they should have added something, or at least try to do something to like have his inclusion in there, as well as some of the other fighters that are coming with the DLC. But again, that's wishful thinking and such. Besides that, I played more Final Fantasy 15. Again, we have some plans to do some more content related to Final Fantasy 15 leading into the next couple of months. Again, we got that DLC that's coming out very soon, the season pass. We had the update that happened not too long ago. So me and Gary more than likely are probably going to do some more turn-based stuff and talk about more about Final Fantasy 15, you know, as we go along and such, because there's still more to be talked about with this game, which I think is great. Even though I scored it in the 80s for us on our official review, I think it's still telling and still something to acknowledge about how much everybody's still talking about this game well after its release. And I think that's a cool thing. But either way, that's what I've been playing, you know, at least what's been on my plate as far as like my game consoles and stuff.
Sounds good, man. Yeah, it was a bit of a, you know, people trying to message me during this show. So sorry about that. But one thing I did want to say, I do, you know, I also picked up that season 2 pass, and you know, I would like for them to do more with that content besides just the characters. I guess it's too late to think that they can add those characters into the story mode, but yeah, I guess we'll have to see, because I mean, I guess we'll just have to see. I don't really know what else we can expect from the season pass besides just the characters.
The thing that I think we should acknowledge, though, Rich, and it's one of the other complaints that I had, not so much about Akuma, but about the season pass from Capcom for Street Fighter V, is that there's not one season pass you can get that has everything. You have to spend $29.99 on the season pass for the characters. Then you have to spend an extra amount of money on the event stages that they have. They have this Christmas stage and Christmas costumes that's out now, and it's only out for a limited time, but that's like almost another $30. And that kind of sucks. Like, you know, when you commit to season passes, and one of the things I've always said about it, and I've been burnt by season passes in the past. Season passes in the past is a little redundant, but I've been burnt by season passes beforehand because I always felt like I was going to get more for having committed to a lot of stuff, and you're basically giving them money well in advance before the content is even finished like that. But you're taking a big risk, and you know, and you're setting yourself up for some disappointment. That's what I experienced when I did it for BioShock Infinite. And granted, we got the extra episodes and the extra content from it like that. It just wasn't satisfactory for me, you know, given that wait, how long I waited and how much I was willing to be in with them at that point. And I find the same thing could happen with Street Fighter V. Granted, you're still getting new characters and such, but you're not getting everything despite you committing to a season pass and being with Capcom there throughout the entire season of the game, you know, in 2017. So that's just me, though. That's just my personal preference, where I feel like you should be getting more value for your dollars.
Oh, I understand exactly what you mean. So, yeah, I agree. We'll have to see where everything goes with that. But so far, you know, I also tried out Akuma. I thought he was cool, but I haven't really dived deep into it yet. So maybe I'll have more to say about it next time. Gary, how about you let us know what you've been playing?
Yeah, no surprises with me. So I've been playing a lot of Overwatch because they had the Christmas update, which they called it the Winter Wonderland. So there was this really awesome skin for the character called May that I wanted to unlock, because like she's in like a Santa costume, and when she does her ice cocoon thing, she actually turns into a snowman and everything, and it looks pretty cool. So I wanted to really unlock that skin, but because the loot boxes are completely randomized, so you don't know like what your chances are of actually unlocking that skin. So for the past 2 weeks or so, I've been playing it as much as possible, trying to level up and unlock that skin, but I never got to do it. And today is actually the last day. I think within the next minute, actually, I think they're going to update the game to cancel out that update, so you won't be able to get that skin anymore. But Blizzard finally got their hands on my wallet once again, because just before the show, I did actually buy some loot boxes to try and unlock it. So now I do have the skin, but I had to pay for it. And, you know, that kind of hurts. But Overwatch is a game that I spend a lot of time in. So I want to have the skins that I like. And, you know, these are skins that you can only get in a certain period of time. So I want these skins to show that, you know, I actually support the game. I actually play it when, you know, there's an event going on and stuff. So people will see that, you know, I'm a committed player. So yeah, the Blizzard curse has got to me. I'll say that, because I know a lot of people pump money into games like World of Warcraft and what's the card game again? The card game they've got, and
Heroes of the Storm or Hearthstone.
Yeah, that one. And you know, they've got Diablo and all those other games that people are addicted to, StarCraft. So yeah, it's a Blizzard curse, man. They'll get you to spend money one way or another. But yeah, besides that, I actually finally completed Final Fantasy 15 on my birthday. Actually, I completed it on Christmas Day, which is also my birthday. And yeah, I really enjoyed the ending of the game. I do think the boss fights were way too easy. I don't know if it's because I was over leveled at that point or if it really just is easy, but it seemed like it was just easy. But the reason I was over leveled was because I actually wanted to beat the Adamantoise optional boss before completing the game. And that boss has like 5 million HP.
Yeah,
So
there's no way you could do that. Just straight up. You have to wait till after you complete the main story to do that.
No, I actually managed to do it. I actually managed to beat it before completing the game, but I had to grind a hell of a lot to do that. And it took me about like 3 hours to beat that boss.
That's insane.
Yep. So yeah, that was crazy. But yeah, I finally completed that. I almost have the platinum trophy, but it's gonna take me a lot more grinding to actually fully get it because I have to level up Gladios's survival skill and stuff, and I have to do a lot of fishing to raise the level for Noctis. So there's still a lot I have to do to get that platinum trophy, but I do want to get it because I'm so close. I'm like 87% with the trophies, so I might as well try and get it. And there's DLC and updates to look forward to. So yeah, but I haven't actually played that game much since I beat it because I just went right back to Overwatch. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've been playing. I do, now that I've completed Final Fantasy, I do want to go back and get Watch Dogs and some of the games that I missed. And you know, I should be playing Walking Dead now apparently, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, that's it so far.
All right, so I have a quick question for Mr. Lugo. Are you also wanting to get the platinum for Final Fantasy, or is Gary the only one?
I'm like right there as well. And like Gary, I have to do a lot of fishing. I don't like the fishing in the game, to be totally honest with you. I find it very boring, a little bit annoying. And the same thing also, I think I have to level up, I think it's Ignis's cooking skill. Because during my time with the game, especially with me trying to grind to level 99 and stuff by using different methods to boost up my experience, I didn't really camp a lot. So his cooking skills still what, level 3, 4, maybe 5 at most. And in order to get everybody's skills up to level 10, and so if you have to constantly do them, throughout each time right before you rest up. So if once I get those done, then I'll probably get the platinum. I'm like right there. It's not a hard platinum to achieve. It's just very time consuming.
Yeah, shouts to Tony Polanco because I know he has the platinum. And Hell Metal, shouts to him also.
So yeah, I like to give them congratulate them on, grinding away and getting that platinum. With any luck, maybe I will actually start playing Final Fantasy 15 because I have not had the opportunity to play it yet. There's too many other games I'm trying to get through. So we'll see what happens this year. And I also like to give a shout out to Mr. Kennedy because he won't stop talking about me playing Metal Gear Solid 5. So maybe both of those will happen in 2017. You never know. But yeah, we'll see what happens. So as for what I've been playing, I was on holiday break for quite a while. I actually just got back in town on Friday night. So I didn't play much before then, but when I got back, I jumped into quite a bit of games. I played the Nier. I believe it's now. Stop me if I pronounce it incorrectly. I think it's Nier Automata. I had a chance to play that demo, and I absolutely loved that demo. Very much reminded me of so many different games. They have the some stuff that is in some ways similar to Metroid, similar to it's really hard to describe. It's like a hack and slash game, but it has a lot of more elements to it. The demo is a pretty short demo, relatively short. I got through that in about maybe I want to say 25 minutes or so. But very much enjoyed the demo. I haven't played any of the other games in the series. Definitely a first timer, but I'm definitely going to pick that game up because I had a good time with it. So I do recommend you check it out if you haven't done so. It's already on PlayStation 4. I believe it's also coming to PC later this year, but it'll be out on PlayStation 4 around March 7th.
Wait, is that demo only for the US or is it for like all PS?
I think it's worldwide, from my understanding, because I think you could also get it in the UK. I'm pretty sure, because when I heard about it from the Square Enix UK PR, not just the American one.
Okay, I'm gonna need to get that then because I've been
looking. You can get it now. I'm pretty sure you could get it now. You just download it. It's not a big demo. And it's not a long one either.
Yeah, it's real short.
Because I had my eye on that game, so I need to try it out.
Oh, really? I didn't know you was interested in that game either. So that's interesting.
Oh yeah, Square Enix,
Yeah, Square Enix. I think that's why I played that game. It's a huge boss that I had to play in that game. That's why you probably would ask the question, well, why haven't you played Final Fantasy yet? I know there's a lot more to Final Fantasy. It's going to take a while to get into that because But this game was fun. I definitely recommend you check it out if you haven't done so already. I also tried to play the Gravity Rush 2 demo. And let me just say this right now. I haven't played any Gravity Rush games prior to this one. So I'm at the point now where I'm trying to learn how to use the camera correctly. And when you're flying through the sky or you're moving through the environments, how to position the cursor in the right place so that you actually land where you're supposed to land. So it's taking some time to do that. I think the game is very charming for what it is. The demo is. I can see why a lot of people are looking forward to the game. I mean, yeah, it's a great game from that perspective. But for someone who's coming into the series for the first time, it's probably going to take a little bit of time for me to really get into it. But for what it's worth, what time I did spend with it was pretty good. I don't really have anything negative to say about it. Just that I personally know that I need to improve as far as figuring out how the camera works and how to position the character correctly when doing certain attacks, so on and so forth. But a great game for what it's worth, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of that, because it is coming out later this month. So we'll see how that goes. I also finally got a chance to play The Walking Dead Season 3. And I actually have a review that I'm working on. For those of you who don't know, when Telltale announced the release date, they announced that both episode 1 and 2 were coming out the same day. So I actually just finished episode 2 right before we started recording today. And I have to say, the game is very, obviously, we know it's a very dark, depressing subject matter. It's a zombie apocalyptic world. And people are at pretty much very desperate and at their wits' end. We expect that, but this game feels a little bit different because Clementine is not really the main character. She does play a supporting role this season. There's another character by the name of Javier who gets separated from his family and is trying to get back to the family. But it's interesting to see how the choices you made in season 2 play out this time around. Because I made a couple of choices in season 2 at the end, where Clementine, I was just a much more nice and inviting person, and then I turn around and started playing the game, and now Clementine, she starts out as a bitch right in the beginning. I'm like, whoa, it's kind of this is a little surprising. And obviously, as you continue to play the game, it becomes more about making these decisions as in every Telltale game. It's just for me though, what I have noticed with this game, which is a little bit different from how Batman was, a lot of the game has been like a lot of talking in the very beginning. There's a little bit of action, but that didn't come until after, the first half of episode 1, mainly about making these choices, these decisions. And then as you get towards the middle of it, then it starts getting into the action-oriented stuff, killing zombies, as well as, coming face-to-face with other humans and then making a decision as to whether or not you want to kill them. So it's a very interesting season thus far. Very depressing to see what has happened to some other characters. But I'll definitely talk more about it. But what I will say is, if you are a Walking Dead fan, you already have a good idea what you're getting into. I definitely would recommend that you should check it out, because it is still a great experience to have, and there's a lot of twists and turns in the storyline. So definitely worth checking out. You had a question, Gary?
Would you say so far that the storytelling has been better than in Batman, or on par with it?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know about that. There's just like I said, there's a lot of shocking things that happen. I mean, some of the stuff is not shocking, but there's certain aspects, because the way they tell the story, right? They tell it through the perspective of Javier, and it has a flashback sequence which goes back to, like, pretty much every episode starts with something that happened in the past with Javier, and then it jumps right to the present after you see the credits, the opening credits. And then by the same token, it also shows flashbacks of what happened to Clementine in between the time of the last game and this game. So I think they're trying to do a lot more with the storytelling. The episode 2 was interesting because they tried to bring both of those stories together. And I thought that was actually very interesting. Now what happens at the end of that episode is a bit of a shocker. But I don't really know if it's a stretch or not, because I have to see how they continue to move things along. But so far, I would say the storytelling is, I would say, on par with Batman. But obviously, they have a lot more that they have to explain about other things. There's some characters that are a little underutilized, and they don't make it. So it's a little bit unfortunate, because you want to get to know more about these other characters, but you don't really get that opportunity. But aside from that, it's still not a bad game at all. It's a great game. If there's only one complaint that I did have about my whole experience, it's that, again, the issues they have with this games because I started playing yesterday and the game just shut down. Went right to the home screen on my PlayStation 4. And those issues, I understand some of that stuff, you can't fix all that stuff, but they have to get better about that stuff, because I believe that Mr. Lugo, I believe you had the same issue with Batman, where you had an episode you were playing and then it just crashed. So they got to get better about that stuff. Because I had literally just started the episode and then it just crashed. I said, "Oh, nah, that's not gonna work." But once it got past that, the game is great. So look for my review for both episodes later this week. But yeah, absolutely. But that's pretty much all that we have been playing. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump right into some topics. So we are in a new year now, 2017. I don't really think we really talked about. We talked a little bit about some games we're looking forward to in 2017. I don't think we really narrowed it down to like a couple ones. So I wanted to ask you guys if you can pick 3 games. What games are you looking forward to the most this year? It doesn't matter, if whether it's confirmed or not. Now, again, I don't really know. There's a lot of games we don't know when they're coming out. So, but I just wanted to pose the question because, and I also want to pose the question to those that may be listening to the podcast or, watching the podcast live. Let us know what your picks are as well. But if you have 3 games in mind, Gary or Mr. Lugo, whichever one of you guys want to go first, please do let us know.
I'll go first. Yeah, so
Okay.
definitely. Okay, I won't do this in order of release. Let me think. Okay, so I'm gonna say right off the bat, Final Fantasy VII remake, if it comes out this year. You know, it's not a guarantee, but it could. So that's definitely, you know, one of my most anticipated. And also, man, I'm trying to think. I'll go with Horizon because that game looks seriously good. And I think the PS4 really needs a good game right now because it's been a while. So yeah, definitely Horizon Zero Dawn is one of them. And I'll have to say, of course, I'm sure this one will be said by somebody else as well, but definitely Mass Effect Andromeda. I can't wait for that because I really want to see how, you know, that game turns out because, you know, the Mass Effect games were very important to last generation, even with the botchy ending that happened with Mass Effect 3. That's an important series right there, and they can do so much with it still. And you know, they built this fantastic world that they can tell a lot of amazing stories inside of. So yeah, I definitely want to revisit that. I've even been thinking about replaying the first 3 games, you know, just because like I feel like I can play those games at any point in my life and still enjoy them like it's the first time that I'm playing it. So yeah, I can't wait to revisit the Mass Effect universe. So I'm really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I just was going to say real quick, and then you can go, Mr. Lugo. I just was going to say, yeah, I also am with you 100% on thinking about replaying the other Mass Effect games, but I'll get into my picks later. How about you? Go ahead, Mr. Lugo.
It's very tough. Again, there's like last year. I think this year we have a lot of big games that we're looking forward to. Like there's a lot. There's at least over 10 games that I think all three of us like really want to play throughout the entirety of the year. Granted, if they're still confirmed for this year, because I think a lot of stuff is going to get delayed until next year, especially if, you know, kind of like what happened in 2016 with stuff that was supposed to come out towards like, you know, November, December, or even October. I think at one point Horizon was supposed to come up at like November, I think it was, and then it got pushed back even further. So things like that are bound to happen. But all that aside and stuff, what am I looking forward to? I'm looking forward to obviously Horizon Zero Dawn. I got to play it at PSX. It feels good. It plays good. I'm curious about the story. I think that Guerrilla's got something really good on their hands. A lot of other people, you know, not just here on the website, but other people all over the place on social media would agree with me that that's going to be a very interesting game when that comes out. I'm hoping that it is still good and it lives up to the hype that a lot of people are really giving it. Besides that, too, this month even, we got Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue. You guys know I'm a huge Kingdom Hearts fan. Obviously, I'm kind of, you know, salivating for Kingdom Hearts 3, but I'm pretty sure that we're not going to get that game this year, and I would prefer it not to be totally honest with you guys. But besides that, at least we're still getting a Kingdom Hearts game, and it's still something that's brand new and interesting, and that's going to relate to Kingdom Hearts 3. Granted, it's still not part 3. So I'm looking forward to that, even though I've had hands-on time with it at E3, and I've played some of the other games that are on there. I'm curious also about the movie and stuff, but again, if you don't like that pick, you could replace that with like Persona 5 and stuff, because again, there's so many games and such. But the other one I really want to kind of give a nod to that, again, might be a little bit unexpected to you guys. I'm really anticipating Injustice 2. I'm really hoping that game comes out this year and it's something good. I mean, there's other fighting games and there's other games here and there that I'm curious about. Again, Marvel Infinite being another one, but Injustice 2 is looking pretty damn solid. Like I was looking at some footage of it the other day, like some of the extra new Wonder Woman and the new Supergirl footage and a few other stuff here and there, the Blue Beetle, and it looks pretty damn good. It looks really, really good. I'm starting to really gravitate towards it more and more as I'm seeing more footage of that game. What I am hoping, though, is that it has more content into it, especially extras and stuff that I could do on my own and single-player content, besides, you know, a little bit more so than what Injustice 1 had. Because I felt that one of the things that made Injustice 1 not so good compared to Mortal Kombat 9 back in the day, or even Mortal Kombat X, you know, in comparison, was that those other games, the Mortal Kombat games, had more content related to them, more extra bonuses, more single-player content that I can just dive right into, and more extras that I feel like I can unlock throughout the course of my time playing the game. So I'm hoping that Injustice 2 kind of follows suit with that, you know, maybe allow people to get a little bit more into the DC universe of stuff and extra comic book stuff related to those characters, whether it's costumes, whether it's scenarios, whether it's like little story paths or whatever it is that Ed Boon and those guys can really think of. It's going to be really fun. I'm also curious about what guest character they're going to have, because there's a lot of talk all over the place about who the guest characters are going to be in that game. So some people are saying Sub-Zero, some people are saying Spawn. There's a lot of talk all over the place about it. So I can't wait to see how that transpires.
I heard the Joker will be in that game for 10 matches and then never again.
Yeah, confirmed. He's gonna dip out. He's gonna dip out real early.
And that actually, yeah, you're right. I was surprised with that pick, but that's a very good pick, because I know when I saw Injustice 2 at E3, the little presentation, I mean, the game still looks good. Yeah, I had some issues with the art style, but it's still the game itself looked fantastic. So I'm very curious to see about it. I know there's a lot of speculation that it'll be out, the first or second quarter of the year. I have no idea if any of that information is true, but definitely looking forward to hearing more about it. At the very least, I'm pretty sure Ed Boon will have something to say soon. But we'll see about that. But no, very good choices. So as for me, I have to agree. Yes, it is without a doubt. It's very difficult because there's a lot of games coming out, and as you have already said, games could get delayed. So you have no idea. I mean, as for Sony, I really don't know as far as God of War, as far as Spider-Man, as far as Days Gone. I don't think any of those games are going to come out this year. I could be incorrect. I have no idea. But we have to see about that. But in terms of what I do think is coming out this year and what I'm looking forward to, first and foremost, I have to say Red Dead Redemption 2, because I know Rockstar, they're not going to make a bad game. They're at a point now where, they can take years and years to make a game. And, it pays off pretty much in every instance. So I don't really know what to expect from Red Dead Redemption 2. I don't know if this is going to be a new game or if this is going to be a prequel. Whatever the hell it is, though, I'm looking forward to that, because I know that the game is going to deliver. Now, obviously, it can end up getting delayed because we know that Rockstar has delayed games before. But if it is going to come out fall, as they said it was, and it actually hits that target date, then I'm totally fine with that. But I have to say, yeah, that's definitely one. Mass Effect Andromeda, again, this is a game that, it's a bit different. I've heard a lot of mixed things about what to expect from the sequel. Don't really know if any of the information is true or false, because you just don't know. But what I will say is that, I played the last 3 games, and even though I wasn't really a fan of how they ended the third game, all of that time spent, all of that investment into the series, it just brings back good memories I had enjoying the series. So I am hopeful that Andromeda, of course, it's not the same team. There are some people that left to pursue other opportunities. There are some that stayed. But I'm hoping that the team that is behind it knows what people want in a Mass Effect game, and I hope that they do deliver it. Now, again, if they don't, it's going to be very disappointing on so many levels. But I have some faith that they're going to get some stuff right. They're not going to get everything right because, again, like I already said, it's not the same people that are involved on it. But I'm hopeful that it's going to be good. So I have to say, yeah, I'm looking forward to that for sure. And as for the third game, perhaps this game is going to be a bit of a shocker. It's very difficult. I have to say Niho, because again, this is a game that, I got a chance to play it at E3. We had a chance to check it out at E3, and the game is ridiculously difficult. It's one of those games like a Dark Souls where you play it and it is a punishing difficulty. But the thing about it is that, you feel motivated to keep trying until you get it. And that is the whole point of the game. You learn by playing, and that will help you to get through the game. So I pretty much am looking forward to it because I have so many questions about it. It reminds me a lot of the older games that have come out in the past, but I have to say I'm definitely looking forward to it more than most other games, just because I'm curious about, after playing that demo, I was hooked, and I'm very curious to see what else the game has to offer. So those are my three, I would say. I also, Horizon Zero Dawn, all the games you guys mentioned, I definitely want to play those also. So as you say, it's very difficult to pick just three, but no doubt about it, I'm looking forward to all of those. So
Sounds good. That's a good list right there.
Again, like we're not even mentioning like some big titles again, because there's so many games. Like I'm excited for Persona 5. I'm excited for Tekken 7. I mean, the list goes on. There's just so many that not only either have ranges or like, windows of when they're coming out this year, or there's a strong possibility that they might, that they've been shown since E3 and PSX like that. But again, just those aren't our definitive choices of like what we're the most excited about. There's just way too many to count. We could be here all day talking about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, we could be here all day.
Scalebound, Crackdown.
Yeah, well, Crackdown is that's definitely coming holiday. They did announce
Crash Bandicoot. That's another one that I saw.
Yeah, that's coming out. I think that's coming out.
This goes on. It just keeps going because there's so many.
Cuphead,
that's another one. There's just so many.
Yeah, it's too many. It's too many to really count. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, as you guys have already said, we already know some stuff is going to end up getting delayed. I would think that Cuphead is one that won't get delayed because the game has already been delayed multiple times. It kept getting pushed back, and they turned it from a boss battles game to just a straight up platformer now. So
also Ukulele is another one.
Oh yeah, that's coming out in April. Yeah, that has a release date. So it's too many games, but I would say for games, probably a very monumental year because there's so many different things. I mean, last year was great. You got Last Guardian, you got Final Fantasy, you got Uncharted. I mean, there were so many games that came out last year, Gears of War 4, so on and so forth. But this year, it definitely has a chance to overshadow that, depending on what actually gets come out. Because we don't know most of what is going to come out the whole third and fourth quarter of 2017 yet. So I'll be very curious to see what all this stuff is as the year goes on. But as I said earlier, for those that are either watching live or if you're listening, definitely feel free to leave us a comment and let us know which games you're looking forward to the most this year. So we're going to move on to our next topic. JJ, I believe that there was some news on the Nintendo Switch that you wanted to share that happened over the last week or so. So feel free.
So yeah, like there's a combination of different things. Basically, got a little echo. Little echo. There you go. But basically, there was some leaks, a lot of which has been disproven for the most part. Some of I mean, we're going to address them here, but then, even though they've been debunked and stuff, but we're about a week and change away from the Switch event. It's like right then and there. Like it's almost time. You know what I mean? Like, and that's a cool thing because we're about to get news about new Nintendo hardware, and that's very exciting and stuff. But basically, some of the rumors that have been going around that have been debunked by different people, including Laura K. Dale and a few others, was that we were going to get a new Mario Kart for the Nintendo Switch that EB Games apparently, quote unquote, leaked out by accident. That not only it was going to be a brand new Mario Kart for the Switch, but it was going to have like 10 new tracks or 10 new characters, like a whole bunch of new tracks and a bunch of extra stuff. In addition to that, they were also having placeholder prices for the Nintendo Switch. Like they had him listed as $999, but that's just a placeholder like that until whatever the official price is going to be. And some people are saying that's going to be $299 as far as, again, US dollars for the Nintendo Switch. And that's just the core console, no bundle or anything else. Now, all of that got debunked like shortly after that went up. The other one that got debunked too was this giant list of information that included a bunch of games that were supposedly coming to the eShop and coming to the Virtual Console as like downloadable games around the same time as the launch of the Nintendo Switch. The reason why when I first saw it and I immediately knew that it was kind of false on top of what everybody else was saying, was because there were games that were listed on there that just didn't make sense. Like one of the games listed was Capcom versus SNK 2 EO, which is the better version of Capcom versus SNK 2. And to me, I was thinking to myself, like, why would Capcom release a game like that randomly on the virtual console for the Switch when they could have that on PSN and Xbox One like that, especially with PSN, since Street Fighter V is exclusive. And also King of Fighters 14 is also exclusive as well to the PlayStation 4. So that, to me, that just didn't make any sense. But, on top of that, there was other games that were listed on there. There's talk about a Beyond Good and Evil 2 or a second Beyond Good and Evil game that's been rumored for a long time, but people were saying that Ubisoft is finally going to bring that franchise over to the Nintendo Switch, or at least revitalize it with the Switch. And a lot of the talk was debated about whether that was a reboot, whether it was a sequel, or if it was a prequel. There again, a lot of conflicting stories like that. Now, there was a bunch of other information that's been thrown out there, but again, my big point, and again, I want to get your guys' opinions on the matter, is that this is the time when we shouldn't believe anything that we see on the internet, because there's a lot of different people that are putting out hoax. There's a lot of people spreading misinformation, and we still haven't gotten anything official from Nintendo yet. We're going to get it next week. So my biggest thing, just wait till next week to find out what the real story is and all the important details about the Nintendo Switch. Price, launch titles, what's coming to the eShop, what's coming to the virtual console, what can you expect on day one for when the Switch comes out. And also the same thing, including for the Nintendo Switch event that's going on in New York City. So if you're around that area, or if you're around some of those spots where they're going to have the Switch, you'll definitely be able to play it for the first time or get hands-on time with it, including PAX South. I think PAX South is the next PAX that's coming out. That you'll be able to play the actual games and use the Nintendo Switch for the first time if you're not at the New York event. So that's all the stuff that's been going down and such. But what are your guys' stances and thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I don't know about those leaks in particular being true, but I do believe it can happen because we've seen it happen. Like, leaks have come out and been truthful. I mean, Microsoft had to restructure like their whole E3 because of like leaks. Well, not their whole E3, but like the ending of it. They had to, restructure it because it basically leaked right before. So I wouldn't put it past anyone to have it leak before ahead of the show what's going to actually be revealed. But yeah, as for those leaks in particular, I'm not so sure about them, so I can't really comment on that. But I am looking forward to that event. I really want to see what Nintendo are going to bring.
Yeah, I also will have to agree with Mr. Lugo and say at this point, we're so close to the actual event. I definitely wouldn't trust any leaks at this point. I would just be patient to wait, because I mean the event is next Thursday or Friday, I believe. So we might as well just wait to see how that pans out, and then you'll know exactly what it is that the system has to offer. But what Gary said is correct. There have been leaks. I know that with PlayStation, when it leaked, when that Slim leaked, PlayStation made no comment whatsoever. They just waited until their event and went about business as usual. I don't think the Nintendo leaks, while they have been out there, I don't think it's going to be quite as much of a hot topic at the moment. I mean, obviously, it's going to draw a lot of attention now because the event is coming close. But I would hope that people would just wait, because again, a lot of things have been debunked already. A lot of people are very curious to know what the lineup is going to be like, all this other type of stuff, and as far as how the system performs. So at this point, I believe because so much stuff has been debunked, yeah, it's just better for people to just wait till they get the official word from Nintendo as to what the system offers. These are the games that are coming out with the system, so on and so forth, all of that stuff. So I do agree with that 100%. But any other thoughts on this topic before we move on?
Not really. I mean, again, we're just gonna have to wait and see. Next week, or when the Switch event comes, that's when we're gonna get all the news, and we're gonna have a reacts, to all that stuff immediately after the show when that happens. So definitely, you guys that are in the chat now, or you're watching this later on, be expecting that. So we'll get our thoughts immediately on all the news that breaks out then.
Absolutely, 100%. You can definitely expect to see that. So yeah, that's pretty much it for that topic. We're going to move on to the next one. this was a topic that Gary wanted to bring up. So Gary, why don't you let us know about the 2017 gaming resolutions?
Yeah, so we did this last year where basically, you know, we just say the things that we would like to do more of as gamers in 2017. So, you know, for example, I want to play more Overwatch. You know, that could be one. It actually is one, to be honest. But yeah, like one of my real ones that I'm gonna say is I definitely want to play more indie games because, you know, I have to admit that I don't play them enough. And I mean, it sometimes it's tough because there's not enough time to do things because we have to work as well. We have real jobs, so we can't just like sit around playing games all day and stuff. So, you know, when it does actually come time for gaming, you'd rather play something that you actually have, you know, some sort of interest in, that you know you have an interest in. And that makes it harder to try new things because you don't want to waste your time if you don't like something, you know. So that, you know, that becomes a conflict, but I definitely want to be more open to trying new games in 2017. So that's one of my resolutions. Shall we go around? JJ, do you have any resolutions as a gamer?
Yeah, I have a couple. I mean, obviously, everybody has their personal resolutions and their professional ones. For my professional ones, you know, which relate to this and stuff, I want to be able to go to more events. I want to be able to talk to more people, you know, about their games, you know, more devs and publishers and such, and really not only help us get out there, but also really get into the mindset and really kind of, you know, have those conversations about gamings on a different level. Like we have discussions about games here on the co-op. We have it on all our other podcasts here on the Koalition and such, but they're a little bit different. They're always feel different. They come out, they make you come out a little bit different when you go to events and you're actually speaking to publishers, you're speaking to PR, you're speaking to those guys that are already involved with the process rather than being so far removed from it. You know, you get to have those understandings and get those food for thought from the people that are behind the wheel or behind the curtain making these games possible. So I want to be able to have more stuff like that, more experiences like that I've had. When I went to PSX, I had that. Before that, when we went to E3, the last couple E3s I went to, I've had that, and I've always am fascinated by that because it makes me appreciate gaming, you know, and what I do and how I look at games and when I review them, or even if I just play them just for my enjoyment, it just makes me appreciate them a lot more. So I want to do more of that. I also want to play more, you know, and that's a kind of like a weird and funky thing to say because we play a lot of video games as it is, but I want to be able to play more. I want to be able to play more games that I could say that I've completed, and that I could say that when that time comes for like the end of the year, when we're talking about what's the best of the year, I want to be able to, even though I already have a diversified palette in how many games that I play and that I review here on the site, but even more so that I could say like I have this wide spectrum of titles that I've like really had a great experience or a bad experience with here and there, just to kind of open up my mind a little bit, or open up my perspective and my opinions about, you know, gaming as a whole, again, for this year. So that's just some small stuff. There's a lot more, but those are really the main ones for me.
Yeah, I have like two more before Rich goes. So
Yeah, go ahead.
Another one of mine is I definitely want to do more social gaming. So like, you know, gaming around other people and stuff, because I feel like that's something that's kind of been lost with, you know, online play. We don't get to do that as much anymore, and it's actually quite fun because like I played the PlayStation VR a few weeks back, you know, with some friends and stuff. Shouts to Rams and Carl. And that was actually a fun experience, like just playing games together and stuff. And that's always fun, like when you play games with mutual gamers who are, you know, as interested in gaming as you are. That's always a fun experience. And, you know, we get that a little bit when we go to E3 and these events and stuff, which is cool. But it's not often enough, you know, and I'd like to do more of it for sure. And my final one, well, kind of two, is I want to actually play an RTS game this year. Like I've played them before, but like I actually want to sit down and dedicate like a block of 4 hours or more to just playing an RTS to see if I can really get into it. Because, you know, RTS is a genre that I appreciate for what it does. And, you know, I appreciate why people like it. so much and everything, but it's just I've never been able to fully get into it myself. But I feel like maybe if I just slow down and take the time to get into one, then maybe I'll start to like it a bit more. So I definitely want to do that. And the other one was basically the same thing, but for horror games, like horror and survival type games, because I don't play enough of those games at all. The extent of it is probably like a Walking Dead or a Last of Us, but you know, I don't really class that as full on horror and survival, because there's like a lot more deep horror and survival experiences out there, I think. So yeah, those are my resolutions for 2017.
Yeah, you both had some great resolutions. Let me just say this real quick, Gary. So I'm going to dare you right now to play Resident Evil 7 in VR as soon as that comes out later this month. That's a challenge that I will give to you.
Well, yeah, I don't know how I'm going to make it happen. I might have to, I don't know if I'm going to buy a headset. I might have to go around Carl's house or something to see if I can play that. But yeah, I'll try. I'll definitely try.
Sounds good. All right, so my resolutions for gaming resolutions. Well, first and foremost, you know, I mean, I believe I played, you know, my resolution last year was to play more indie games. I played a little bit of indie games in 2016. You know, I played Oxenfree, I played Firewatch, a couple other games, but I don't feel as though I've really played enough of the other indie games that are out there and ones that may be coming. So I definitely want to do more of that, you know, because, you know, what I have noticed from a professional standpoint is that, you know, a lot of the indie developers, some of them will be a lot more appreciative of the coverage that you give to their games. I'm not trying to say anything bad about the bigger publishers, but this is just a fact that a lot of indie devs, they need the coverage, they appreciate the coverage. So I definitely want to improve on my end to try to help them in 2017. To stay on the professional tip as well, I want to improve relationships with PR as a whole, every company. You know, I think a lot of people see oftentimes we run this website. I don't really think they understand the stuff that we have to deal with behind the scenes. We have, you know, you may have a good relationship with a PR, but then a lot of times people often leave that company, or, you know, anything can happen, whereas you don't stay in contact with them. And the important thing is not to go to a PR always asking about a game. You know, it's good to have a good dialogue with people. Some of them are gamers as well. Talk with them, get to know them. And then opportunities do come up to cover games, not necessarily just a review, maybe a preview, so on and so forth. You definitely should do that because that's how you build relationships. I've said multiple times that, you know, think about these relationships with PR as if you were dating somebody. You know, if you're not communicating and on the same level, it's never going to work out. But if you do have constant communication, or, you know, maybe not quite as constant, but just regularly communication, you see somebody at an event, say hi to them, so on and so forth, then that will help you in the long run. So that's one area that I think I'm definitely going to continue to improve upon. I believe we did a good job of that in 2016. I expect to do a lot more of that in 2017. And one final resolution I do have is to actually get into PC gaming, because this is something that I said I wanted to do ever since I joined the Koalition a long time ago. I said, yeah, I want to get into PC gaming. Now, obviously, you think about how much it costs to buy a good PC. You know, we're not having people just send us PCs out the sky just because we write about games. That's not how this thing works. For some people, it does, but everything has a price. But just in general, to just talk more about PC gaming and have an opportunity to do so and experience that is something I want to do this year, because there's quite a bit of games that are going to be out that I am very interested in. Star Citizen, perhaps. I don't know if it's confirmed for this year yet, or if it's going to get pushed back even further. You know, the list goes on. And a lot of third-party titles I know that run better on PC and perform better than on consoles. I definitely want to explore more of those opportunities this year, because it's time. It's long overdue for me to have that experience. But yeah, those are my three most important, I would say, my three gaming resolutions for 2017. So if any of you guys are watching this or you are listening to it, feel free to also let us know if you have any resolutions of things you want to do. Perhaps you may want to try to get through a backlog or try a different game. We're definitely interested in hearing what you guys have to say as well. So feel free to let us know in the comment section. So you guys had any other final thoughts before I move on to the next topic?
No, I'm good.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I'm good.
the next topic, I'm gonna try not to make this a rant, but let me ask the question first and foremost. Did you guys see the Assassin's Creed movie?
No, I didn't watch it. I heard it was terrible, so I didn't even bother.
All right, so let me go ahead and say something about this Assassin's Creed movie. We do have a fellow Koalition writer on in the Skype chat, Matthew. I know we had a conversation about the movie the other day because he did see it, he enjoyed it. I just wanted to talk about what the issue is with the movie. Now, when over the holiday break, I went to go see the movie with my brother because, he's a huge Assassin's Creed fan. So we had some expectations going into this movie. So let me go ahead and say right now what were the positives of the movie. The casting was fantastic. Michael Fassbender is an excellent actor. Movie was about him for the most part. So I think they did a good job as far as the casting, and then you had Jeremy Irons as one of the bad guys. And, you also had your boy Omar from The Wire was in there as well. Problem with the casting was good. The fighting sequences were great. But the issue with the movie, and the reason why I say it's a problem, because oftentimes, if you've seen a video game adaptation of a movie, why it's a problem is because the storyline was absolutely all over the place. I don't want to give too many spoiler alerts, but I have to say, if you are planning to see this movie, you might want to stop listening to the show for at least the next 2 minutes, because I'm going to say a few things. I'm not going to tell you all that what happens, but it's just certain things that were done in that movie I did not like. The fact that they had the assassins staying at Abstergo. It was a Abstergo center, and they had all of the assassins in which they basically took people there. They tried to get, look into their memories and tried to access things that happened with their ancestors to figure out where the Apple of Eden was located. The issue with that is that, from a storyline standpoint, once they go into this whole sequence, these people now become a lot more powerful and lethal because, like their ancestors, they pick up the skills to protect themselves, so on and so forth. So from a storyline standpoint, you have to ask yourself, why would they have all of these assassins in this facility, knowing that now they can take them at any time? And of course, that's what happens in the movie. At a certain point, things get out of hand, and all of a sudden now the assassins are fighting back against the guards. I thought to myself, come on now, man. After you've used the people for their memory, don't you think it would be smart to just execute them and take them out the picture? But they didn't do that. They just kept them in there. So that's what happened. The other thing about the movie is that they had a couple of characters in there that were very much underutilized. When you go back into Fassbender's history, he has a female assassins he's with when they have those sequences. They never at any point attempt to, describe who that assassin is, how she is important to him as a person. They have some type of bond, but you don't know anything beyond that. And of course, when eventually she does meet her demise, it just feels like it's a missed opportunity because they had a lot of sequences where she was just kicking ass as well. And it's just unfortunate. But and then even then, like I said, Omar from The Wire is also in there. He does have a little bit. You find out a little bit about his character. You don't find out everything you need to find out about it. And speaking of the characters, when you look at the Assassin's Creed games and how they have characters like Ezio, like Altair, these guys had different personalities that made you connect to them a lot better. So obviously, when you see this movie, Michael Fassbender pretty much plays himself. You don't really have a bond that you're building with the character. And they do have a sequence where they show some of these other assassins, or they hint at these other assassins when they have a sequence where you just see a whole bunch of assassins in the Animus. And you could see that Ezio is there, and you could see that Altair is there, but they never reference these characters, none of them whatsoever. So it's quite confusing, quite dismal. And from what I saw of the box office sales after the fact, this is a movie that Ubisoft spent about 125 million to make. When I looked at the box office numbers, after the first week, they've only made about 22 million. So I think, it's safe to say that I don't really think it's going to be a sequel. The way they end off the movie, it's like, that there could be a sequel, but there was just such a better way to do it, because they make this all about the Apple of Eden. But anyone who has ever played the Assassin's Creed games, that it's more than one piece of one item that the Templars are trying to get. They made this all about one item. Never at any point teased that there were other items that exist, and it's just a failed opportunity. But with that said, I hope I understand Ubisoft. They took a risk with making a movie. They have their name all over this movie. So I hope that the risk paid off, and I hope that they get better, because I believe they do have a movie for The Division that they were talking about doing. And, I'm just hoping that they get better. But I have to say this now. If you were thinking about seeing this movie, I would strongly urge you to maybe consider seeing something else like Rogue One instead. And if you absolutely have to see it, I would just say, wait until you can rent the movie. I would not spend a full, matinee or evening prices to see this movie. I can't say that. Now, if you are a fan of the game, you definitely will be disappointed. If you really don't care about the game, maybe you might not be quite as disappointed, but no doubt about it, you're going to say there's something wrong with how they did the storyline. So I just wanted to say that rant real quick. Gary, you had a comment to make?
Yeah, Ubisoft just needs to quit with this movie stuff, man. Because we already know video game movies has a bad rap, and they're just adding to that. And I have a feeling a Division movie will be trash, a Watch Dogs movie will be trash, whatever movie that they try to make is going to be trash. So they should just focus on the games and delivering good games, because they have great IPs. It's just they've just kind of been slacking a little bit with them recently. But I hear Watch Dogs 2 was great, so they just need to go back to the drawing board and make some of these IPs hot again, and just not worry about the movies. I mean, if they are going to do a movie, they should do something similar to what Marvel did, and just sell off the rights to another company or something, so that they can make, I wouldn't even say that, to be honest, because it's probably still going to be trash. But yeah, I don't think they need to be focusing on movies. That's my point.
I agree. And one thing I was going to say real quick, I think Mr. Lugo was going to say something, is that they need to stay true to the source material, because with this movie, it wasn't, a lot of stuff didn't quite make quite sense. Obviously, if you play the games, what they were supposed to be doing with this movie. But if you didn't play the game, you definitely were confused as to why they made certain decisions. And also, I was confused about a lot of stuff. But I digress. I guess there was some that liked it, but the general consensus is that the movie, it definitely has a lot of issues. What was you going to say, Mr. Lugo?
You know what the problem is with video game movies? It's that they're trying to make movies like the games, rather than trying to make a good movie. Because you guys know, I used to review films back in the day, or a while ago, before I joined the Koalition. So I had this understanding that when you look at a movie, okay, and granted it's based off of the source material of something else, like a comic, a game, or a book, or whatever else like that. Primarily when you're looking at the movie, you have to still look at it as just a movie, and it has to be a good film more than anything else, besides being accurate to whatever it's depicting and stuff. So even if there's liberties taken, and the perfect example that's historically true that ended up being good was the first Batman movie, the Batman 1989 movie. They took a lot of liberties from the source material, even though it was still dark and brooding based off the original Bob Kane stories. But they changed up stuff like Batman, Joker killed Batman's parents and stuff like that, which pissed off a lot of comic fans and stuff, but primarily it's still a good film and such. And that's the problem with gaming related movies now, is that they're trying so hard either to get accurate representations of the characters, the way they look, or some of the events here and there by not just showing a good movie or making a good movie, by just getting more accurate to one thing or another and getting away from the fact that you're supposed to be making a good movie. The other question I had for you, Rich, and you kind of touched up upon it like that because of the source material stuff. From my understanding from a while back, even when we first saw the first trailer, when we got confirmation that Michael Fassbender was in the movie, wasn't the movie supposed to be a separate story within the same universe of the Assassin's Creed storyline? Because it's funny that you say that Ezio, Altair, there's references to them, but they never explicitly say that. Again, I haven't seen the movie according to what you're saying, but it seems a little bit confusing to me. It's like, okay, if that's the case, then why is it that they were trying so hard to play so much the story of like the Apple of Eden or any of the pieces of Eden for that matter, and not focus on maybe going in like a different direction while still send that same universe? Because at least that's what I got from when we first heard about the film a while back.
That's a very good question. Well, the thing is that, I guess you could say that they did want to have a separate story. The initial story, you see Fassbender as a kid, and pretty much there's something that happens, and then he basically runs away. He sees his mom get killed, but he doesn't understand anything about it. And so he runs away to escape. And the next time you see him, now this is Fassbender in his current age. It's a little different in a sense. If they wanted to have another story, I have no problem with that if it's a different story. But I did see them try to make that connection to say, well, these are all part of the same universe. You saw they had Ezio in there, and then even like from the pirate Assassin's Creed game, I forget that's Black Flag. They did make reference to the black assassin that was in that also was in the DLC, because he is in the same family bloodline as Omar in the movie. So they tried to make some connections with that. Yeah. They tried to make some connections with the game in the movie. But I just think it's about the execution. Again, like I said, the action sequences were great, but the storyline, there's a lot of things you have to question. And not really, the issues aren't really just with the whole fact that it's the source material. It's just that some stuff doesn't make sense from a storyline standpoint. You do have this teasing of because the main guy wants to get the Apple of Eden. This is what the bad guy wants to get that, obviously. He wants to find out where it's at in the current time and get access to it, which is fine. He has a daughter who is the one that puts Fassbender through all these tests and always bringing him to the Animus. And so you have the conflict of, well, she doesn't know whether it's right to try to steal this information from Fassbender, or whether she needs to follow in with her father's command. And eventually, as in predictable fashion, at the end, well, she does decide to make the turn, but then it's not really cut and dry like that, because when you see the ending, you're just still wondering, well, what's going to happen in the sequel? Is there going to be a sequel? It's like I said before, because there are so many artifacts that they have that are in the actual games, I understand them only taking one, but if you're going to have a sequel, don't you think you want to mention, well, there are other artifacts? That's all they had to say. They didn't have to show anything. They could mention there are other artifacts out there. Then people would know, okay, so now I know which direction they're heading in the sequel. So maybe they will still take that approach. Who knows? But I just say that the movie had some issues with it. And I just want to say, I am probably a little bit more critical of this stuff than most people, because I did go to school for film. So certain stuff I'd be like, it doesn't make sense. But for what it's worth, anyone that didn't play the games, maybe they might enjoy it. But, I know a lot of people who did see this movie and they was like, man, they felt violated. I mean, I didn't think it was that serious. Well, I guess, yeah. I understand why. But it is what it is. Gary, you about to say something else?
No, I do agree with what JJ was trying to say before about, like, they should just focus on making a good movie first and not try and focus on, putting in all these different references and Easter eggs and stuff with the game. They should just focus on the movie as a standalone thing. because you know that's kind of what I was trying to say when they should just sell the rights to like a movie studio. But I just thinking about it, like they should just get away from video game movies altogether, to be honest. Like, because they have a history of being trash right now, and I don't like that. It gives gaming a bad name, you know. So yeah, I think they should just quit while they're ahead.
I agree. Well, we'll see what happens. I think the movie, you know, it didn't quite make the money it needed to make here. I mean, domestically, it's going to make more, but I still, it's a lot that it needs to make for them to say, okay, we're going to definitely do a sequel. We have the money to do a sequel. So I don't know if that's going to happen. But I wish them well on the venture. I do give them credit for attempting to make a movie. I mean, again, all of the movie is not horrible because they did get some stuff right. It's just the stuff that they didn't get right. It definitely stands out. But with that said, you know, it is what it is. So, any final thoughts on this topic before we move on?
No, I'm good. Oh, with that being said, though, I do want to see an Overwatch animated movie, but that's it.
Yeah, well, listen, they should have already done that, man. I mean, listen, the reason why I still haven't played Overwatch, you know, I'm wondering where the hell is the story mode? But hey, maybe they will do that. You know, maybe they are considering that because I think that it would have been great to have something like that, to have even more information on the characters. But I mean, they had all those shorts before, so I guess they'll just say that's good enough. I mean, I don't know. But yeah. All right. So the final topic for today's show. I wanted to pose this as just an open as an open discussion and a question to ask you guys. And this is obviously, you know, just your own personal thoughts as to what is going to happen in 2017. I wanted to ask, you know, out of Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony, which platform do you think is positioned to have the best 2017? Again, I just want to get personal thoughts. We're not here to obviously we cannot predict the future, but we're only giving our thoughts as to what we think is going to happen. We're not analysts. No, we're not Michael Pachters, even though I have respect for this guy, even though he's kind of silly sometimes. But I just wanted to ask you guys, who do you think is looking to have a very good, well, I'll put it this way. Who do you think is going to have the best 2017 out of Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony? So whoever wants to go first.
To be totally honest with you, I mean, there's a lot of factors that depend on it. I mean, the Switch, we have to see what that console is really at its heart, besides what we've seen on the different shows and everything that they've showed everybody at this point. Project Scorpio is coming over the horizon. Like, I saw a couple of people tweeting about it over the last few days. That I'm pretty sure we're going to see that thing at E3. I think at this point, you know, according to the way that they were talking when we were there last June and stuff, that we're going to get some sort of info this year. And they even mentioned something towards the end of this year into the following year at some point. So that's a whole nother beast in of itself. And also, again, depending on how all the games are when they come out on, again, if we're talking just PlayStation, all the exclusives that come out at some point. Again, we have one big exclusive that's coming out next month, which is Horizon, like that. And then, you know, periodically down the line, we're going to get more here and there and stuff. But again, it's not like Sony's having any like new hardware other than PSVR, which already just came out and such. So there's all these different factors. I don't know if it's necessarily a good way or a good time now to say like which one we think is going to have the best, because everybody's all over the place. Like everybody, it just seems like there's something for everybody, but it's like, again, like you have to pick and choose like what you're into, because it could be one thing. If you're into games that are going to be phenomenal, especially exclusive titles, then I'm pretty sure whatever's going to be on the Nintendo Switch is going to be phenomenal for you. Like that. That's not to say that there's going to be bad games on PlayStation 4 or anything like that. Same thing with my Xbox One. But I mean, if you're more excited about new hardware, then you could take your pick at that point. There's a whole bunch of things to get excited about this year.
This is true. Very good points all around. How about you, Gary? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think Microsoft is going to have a great year because, you know, the teraflops, man. Like, you can't mess with those teraflops. Not even Mark Cerny can mess with those teraflops, man.
Yo, Gary, did you see the GIF that, what was it? One of the guys at Xbox put out earlier today.
What
It was
it?
okay. So you guys remember Jurassic Park, right? You remember the scene when the Tyrannosaurus is coming, and then there's that shot of the water that's like rumbling, and then
Uh-huh.
he put on the top on the tweet, it says Project Scorpio is coming. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, that was clever. That was good.
Yeah, definitely. I think they'll have a great year for sure. I think it's either going to be Microsoft or Nintendo. I think Sony, like, they're kind of stagnant at the moment. Like they're just coasting right now. Like, you know, they've dropped their new console and the VR PlayStation VR. The best they can do is drop, you know, a lot of fire for the PSVR, because I feel like they really owe the people who bought that device some hot fire. So they need to really focus on that stuff. But while they're focusing on that, you know, we have Nintendo and Microsoft ready to drop new consoles. And, you know, I think a lot of the spotlight throughout the year is going to be on both those companies. And we know that the Scorpio is going to be, you know, a powerhouse in terms of console. You know, it's going to be a beast of a system. And I know Microsoft is they're looking at this as, you know, their virus. You know, this is going to be their cancer to the gaming industry. This is going to like wipe out everything. This is what they want, you know. So that's what they want the Scorpio to be. And I think they're going to put all their efforts into delivering that, so that they can finally get some more leeway in terms of the sales against the PlayStation. Now, Nintendo, their strategy is going to be completely different, because Nintendo, they kind of just don't give a shit. Like, you know, they want to do their own thing. They want to be in their own lane, you know. And I think they're really going to focus on that. And I think they're in a good position, because their console, the Nintendo Switch, does something that the other two consoles cannot do, and that is bring your games with you on the road. You know, like you can't bring your experiences away from the home. You can't bring Horizon or Scalebound or Gears of War. You know, you can't bring these experiences away from the home without physically bringing your console with you to like somebody else's place. You know, you can't do it. So I feel like that creates a lot of doors for Nintendo to do something innovative. And I think the software is really going to determine how successful that concept is, because they're going to have to create some software that's adapted for that concept. I think, like, if they can get something that's super social, that will get people gaming together on their Nintendo Switches, you know, that would be really cool. Like, and shouts to the Mayamada guys. You know, we had Nigel on here before from Mayamada. He does social gaming events, and he said to me that the Nintendo Switch is going to be great for his events, his gaming events, because, you know, people are going to be able to bring their games and participate in tournaments and stuff, and it's just going to make everything easier. So yeah, stuff like that I think could be fantastic if Nintendo pull it off. And that's why I'm going to be focused on their conference next week when it happens. But yeah, both those companies are in a great position for 2017. I feel like Sony's just going to be coasting this year. We know that there's some games that, you know, they want to release, but I have a feeling a lot of them might get pushed back. I think we'll see Gran Turismo this year. We'll get a Horizon, of course, and can't remember what else we may get. But, you know, there's a lot we might not get. I mean, the biggest thing people are looking forward to right now is DLC for Uncharted. So, like, you know, it's just DLC. Like, what else is there going to be? You know, they already said Spider-Man not even make it this year.
Persona
So,
in April. Persona.
yeah, Persona, but that's really third party, but it's just exclusive.
Oh, you mean just first party exclusives? Then okay, no, that's different.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, like, that's my point with this whole generation, because I feel like the third parties are making the best games. Like you just said, Persona, that's going to be a fantastic game, no doubt. But like, that's not even a Sony game, you know. Like, it's the third party companies that are making the best. They're defining this generation, in my opinion. And I hope that Nintendo can get some of these third party studios to work with them in the long term, because I think they really need that.
You know, I think you said a lot of great information there. Pretty much a lot of valid points. What I will say about Sony is that there's absolutely no doubt that Sony will have a good year software wise. The first party stuff, yeah, you got Horizon coming. I mean, we still don't have release dates for Detroit Become Human. We don't have any release dates for God of War and all these other games. With that said, they do have a lot of games that are coming out this year. Even if it's to the third party games and if it's exclusive, you know, a lot of people maybe all they really care about is the games. But in terms of, you know, and I have to say this because I'm pretty sure we'll get at least one person that will ask, well, why is the podcast titled this? It is no doubt about it that a lot of the news this year is going to gravitate around Microsoft and Nintendo because of the new hardware. You know, Nintendo Switch will get talked. You know, will actually get revealed next week. A lot of people are going to be looking forward to that device. Not just, you know, as it gets closer to launch, but also because they want to know what other games are going to be on that. So Nintendo has an opportunity to grab people's attention. They know what's up, you know, and it was a very smart move to make that conference at the beginning of the new year because, you know, I don't really think there's going to be too much news between now and then about other stuff. Now, I could be wrong. We can get a release date for any of the games we've already mentioned on this show between now and next week. But Nintendo, no doubt about it, a lot of people are going to be talking about that because it's the first real event of the new year. So I'm pretty sure Nintendo's going to do well this year based off of that. Now, obviously, it's either going to be a good thing or a bad thing if the device doesn't live up to the expectations. But even if it's a good or a bad thing, there's no doubt about it, it's going to be talked about more than anything else this year. And the same applies to Microsoft. Microsoft was very confident last year when they kept saying, you know, they saw how Sony did the PlayStation 4 Pro, the conference they had, which I still did not enjoy that presentation. But they saw how they handled that conference, and Microsoft saw that and said, okay, so this is how we're going to outdo them. Now, Microsoft is very confident, talking about that the Scorpio has 4K native. And the whole thing about it is that, you know, a lot of those things, it's either going to be make them or break them this year, because if it doesn't quite meet the expectations that they are saying that it does meet, well, that's also going to be bad for them as well. So the way I look at it is, when you think about it that way, yeah, Microsoft and Nintendo, a lot of the news is going to be about them for good or for worse this year, because there's so much pressure on them to deliver. Microsoft, you know, maybe they might not think they have so much pressure because they have the Xbox Play Anywhere thing, which allows people to play the games on PC as well. So they may not feel as though they feel as though they're giving the players more than enough options. So maybe they might not care quite as much. But you always know that they have this thing in them, as any company would have in them, where if we're getting beat by the competition, you know, we're going to try to do as much as possible to still make ourselves relevant and go out of our way to please the fans. So, like I say, for better or for worse, there's going to be a lot of news about Microsoft and Nintendo all throughout this year. Obviously, I take the positive mindset to say, well, yeah, it's going to be good stuff for both companies, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be some bad stuff also. But no doubt about it, no matter how you scratch it, unless Sony makes some massive announcement that just blows our mind at E3 or before, I think this year it's all about Nintendo and Microsoft in terms of whether or not they're going to actually deliver. And, you know, for Nintendo, because a lot of people look at Nintendo and they're like, oh, the Wii U was a failure. Now they're going to ask the question, can the Switch, you know, deliver? And that's the question that's going to be answered, you know. It's going to take time for you to get an answer, but you're going to see how it is received once it comes out, so on and so forth. Same thing with Scorpio. One thing I will say that Microsoft will more than likely do with Scorpio that Sony didn't really do with the PlayStation 4 Pro is that they're going to do as much as possible to say, these are the titles the showcase titles that you need to have an Xbox Scorpio 4. Because the thing is, what I did notice about the PlayStation presentation, they showed Horizon Zero Dawn. The problem is Horizon doesn't come out until February, whereas the PlayStation 4 Pro came out in November. So I fully expect Microsoft, once the Scorpio comes out, there will be a game that will launch day and date with that system that they will tout as being, this is the game you need to play. Well, as I mentioned earlier on this show, the Xbox team, they had an extra, they did a extra live stream over, way back in December, and said that the goal is to launch Crackdown 3 on Scorpio to make use of the 4K native features, so on and so forth. So definitely expect them to do that, because I feel like if Sony had done that, if they had a game at launch that, said that really was there to say, this is why you need to have a PlayStation 4 Pro, it possibly would have even done even better than it did do. It still did well, but it could have done even better when you have the perception that this is a game that's launching on the system day one, a game that you absolutely would benefit. But that is a tricky thing to do, because again, you don't want to alienate the people who have the regular PlayStation 4 as well. But with that said, all I can say is going to be very interesting to see how this pans out. But I know for a fact, Microsoft, they're going to approach this from the mindset of, this is a game that is launching day one on Scorpio. You're going to want it to get it on a Scorpio because it does this. I know they're going to do that, because that just makes perfect business sense for them to do that. But with that said,
yeah, that's a good theory.
Oh yeah, you know how Microsoft operates. You know how most companies operate. So it's going to be very interesting. But with that said, I just wanted to make it clear, I'm not saying anything bad about Sony per se. Again, they have a lot of games this year that are coming out that people are looking forward to. Now, the games that we're looking forward to most, that is the other thing. We just don't know when those games are coming out. Spider-Man, I like to believe there's Spider-Man, Days Gone, and God of War all coming out this year. There is no way in hell that all three of those games are going to come out this year. It's not possible. Because I guess it is possible, but I know Sony. I know they're going to be like, no. And then, of course, they still have the third-party deals, and they already said that they have a deal for Red Dead Redemption. So I'm pretty sure that they're not really going to push those games if they're not ready. And I don't want them to rush the games either, because I know they're going to be good. Insomniac is not going to mess up Spider-Man. You also have the Sucker Punch game that will more than likely get announced at E3. So, there's still a lot to look forward to. But we'll see. And again, with Scorpio, we don't really know anything that Microsoft is going to have this year outside of what was already announced. There could very well be other stuff they announced at E3 that nobody saw coming, like last year with last year with Dead Rising 4. I know they had the leaks that killed that all momentum, but no one was thinking that was going to get announced prior to that leak happening. So, we just have to see what happens. But no doubt about it, it's going to be a great year to be a gamer without doubt on all platforms. So just wanted to make sure that was put out there. So any final thoughts before we wrap up the show?
Nope.
No, man, I'm excited to see how this year plays out.
Absolutely.
Same. Me too. Pretty much. Yeah, it's an exciting year. Granted, we're still in the high of New Year's like that, because we just had New Year's Eve like not so long ago. But still, it's after the year we just went through. Granted, we had a great year in gaming. I think everybody's just looking at stuff in a much more better light. So 2017 looks like it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of big things.
Absolutely. And I will say this as well. I'm not going to change the topic, but I don't know how everything else will be in 2017, but at least I'm going to have some games to keep me distracted amid other stuff that may be going on with politics, so on and so forth. So yeah, looking forward to that. But
we'll be okay. We'll be okay until Donald Trump bans gaming.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. We'll see. All right, so that concludes this week's episode. The Co-op. We thank you all for listening. Do you guys have any final shout outs? How about you go first, Mr. Lugo?
Shout out to everybody in the chat right now that's been talking up in there while we're talking here about game stuff for you. Shout out to everybody leaving comments, leaving reactions to all the editorials, all the articles, all the reviews, everything from last year. You guys allowed us to keep doing some amazing stuff and allowed us to get out to events and actually provide great content for all of you. Shout out to everybody that's worked with us at this point, you know, and everybody else that, again, that just loves listening to us talk about games, you know, just loves following our content, loves, you know, loves each of us, you know, as far as, you know, following us on like social media and things like that. Cause we love seeing your guys' reactions and we love seeing that you guys, you know, be entertained and enjoy what we have to say and give our opinions about all the stuff that we love to do, and that's play video games. So thank you a tons.
Absolutely. Agree 100%. How about you, Gary? Final shout outs?
Yeah, shouts to all of the Patreon supporters. That's M. Collins, Sean Gorty, Michael Hatcher, Stephen Ferron, Mauricio Aguilar, Himdale, and Fergus Mills. Shouts to you guys. We appreciate you. Guys, it's optional, but you can support us on Patreon just to help us, you know, run the site and everything. We're hoping to do a lot more in 2017 and step it up production-wise. So everything helps, and we appreciate that. And also shouts to the people who joined us in the chat. We got Dreadhead, we got Dax, we got Wesley, and Cycle Gamer. Shouts to all you guys for chopping it up with us in the chat. And shouts to everyone else at the Koalition, man. Oh, and I actually got to meet another member of the Koalition last week. That's Tatiana. I met her for the first time. She's from San Francisco, but you know, she flew over to Sweden and then spent a couple of days there, and then flew over to London and spent a few days over here. So yeah, we met up and I finally got to meet her. She's cool people, and she will be attending CES for us, and also PAX East. She'll be doing a panel there. So yeah, shouts to her. It was cool. It's always cool meeting some of you Koalition people, and I hope that I get to do it again at E3 and stuff. So yeah, that was cool. But yeah,
Sounds awesome.
That's it. That's all my shouts.
So yeah, I'll also like to give a shout out to all the Patreon supporters as well, and those that are watching the show now. Thank you for your continued support. As Gary said, we do have quite a bit of things planned. So stay tuned, because there's a lot of things that you're going to start seeing appear on the site. I've been working on a couple of things, and you'll see a lot more stuff from us. A couple of reviews forthcoming as well. So stay tuned. We will have quite a bit of great content coming for you guys in 2017 and beyond. So thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you all next week.